Next up, how to get and track buffs. Perfect. Since we're just talking about buffs, and we'll talk about food buffs as well. Doctors can buff you. It used to be doctors could only buff you inside of a med center or a hospital, but now that they've introduced medical droids, the droid modules are working. Doctors can and probably should buff you near a medical droid because that gives them an extra 10% to their buff strength. But yes, so health and action and the secondaries associated with them are buffed by doctors. A doctor uses an actual item to buff you. And those items require some very specific resources to make. So crafting doctor buffs is like an industry all of its own. It takes a lot of time and a lot of, well, mainly time, but a lot of credits too, to be able to make your own buffs. And because of that, many doctors buy their buffs from another doctor who has taken that time. Like, I make my own buffs. I don't have the best buffs, but they're pretty good. But like, if I wanted to buy the server best buffs, I would have to go to another doctor who makes them and pay to purchase the actual physical buffs from that doctor. Because of this, many doctors in galaxies will charge for their services. And that's because they had to pay for it. I guess, like, some games, when you buff somebody, it's like an ability that you could just use over and over again as long as you have the mana for it. It doesn't work like that in galaxies. Since buffs are an actual item, like, it's currency. It costs them money to either make or buy that, so they need to get that money back somehow. So what's a fair price for buffs? This is kind of debatable. It depends on what the power of the buff is, obviously, but I would say a very fair price for a set of doctor buffs is 5,000 credits. And when new players hear that, their mind is blown. They're like, 5,000 credits? I only have 1,000, and you already told me to go talk to all the other skill trainers, and I spent 100 credits to train Novice Marksman and Novice Scout and all this stuff. Alright, relax. First of all, many doctors in galaxies buff for free. Why? Because if you buff for free, you're more likely that somebody's going to tip you because you're being cool. And the amount that they tip you generally is more than you would have made if you were charging 5,000 credits for buffs anyway. I know that's how I do it. I don't make that much money doing it, but I also don't do that for money, so I don't really care. Most people will tip 10,000 credits because it's like end game missions give you 25 to Rank War missions, you get like 35,000 credits for one mission. So paying someone 10,000 credits for buffs, that's half of a mission, if that. So it's really not a lot once you get to the end game. But as far as the new players go, like, if you're just starting, if you tell a doctor, look, I'm a new player, I don't have a lot of money right now, 9 times out of 10, they will buff you for free. It's just how it is. Like, people, we understand. Doctors understand. New players can't afford buffs. That's just how it is. And many of them will give them to you for free. If they're not, you can't really be mad at them because of what I just explained. Like, they need to make their money back, so you can't blame a doctor for not buffing for free, but at the same time, many of them will. Entertainers, on the other hand, are a little bit different and can be a little bit trickier, to get your buffs from, because you need to be grouped with the entertainer in order to get your buffs. And there's several different methods the AFK entertainers have set up or come up with over the past couple years to get people into their group. I can say the two main methods that I know of are via tell and via target invite. So back in live, the way most of us did it, and the way that Takora does it, and the way that the entertainers in Theed do it, they have their entertainer or their group leader set up in a position that has their cursor on like a chair or something, like a very specific location in front of the entertainer. In the case of a chair, all you do is you sit in the chair. The person who's running the invite macro will target your character when you sit down and send an invite to their current target, which gets you into the group. You get the group invite, you join the group. The other way is a lot more complex to set up, so not that many people do it, but it is very effective and does not require a chair or some sort of specific location to work, and that's via tell. So you'll actually send a tell to the entertainer or the group leader, which their macro, like, takes the, like, to be honest with you, I don't know how it works. It's got something to do with an alias that, like, removes things from chat and adds your name to chat and, like, sends you an invite, and it works. It's ridiculous. So the game recognizes the fact that you sent them a message, and then it takes your character name and puts it into a /invite alias to send you an invite to the group. It's crazy. So those are the two things you can do. So, but you need to be in the group in order for the buffs to work. And at the time of making this video, which is pre-publish 8, so current publish is publish 7. So this probably will change after publish 8. So if this is post-publish 8, you don't have to worry about this part. But currently, there is a bug where sometimes you don't get your buff from the entertainer, even though you should have. And in order to fix it, all you need to do is soft log. Usually, what I would do is I would leave the group and then soft log, and then when you come back in, which a soft log, by the way, is just doing shift escape, going to disconnect, which brings you back to character select, and then choosing your character and coming back in. That's called a soft log. Things you need to know. That was like 6.5 or 7.5. What number am I on? Whatever, 7.5. Anyway. So, in order to get the buff, once you're in the group, you need to watch or listen the entertainer. So you can do that either by, like, clicking and holding on them, which opens up a radial menu, and you'll have the option to either watch or listen, or once you have them targeted, you can type /watch or /listen. And you need to watch or listen to them for a total of 2 minutes each in order to get your full 2-hour buff. The duration of which you watch or listen to the entertainer, it determines how long you get the buff, but no entertainer buff is longer than 2 hours. So that's how that works. The bug, basically you'll be able to tell if you're bugged because the game will tell you that you need to watch or listen to an entertainer for a minimum of 1 minute, even though you listen to them for the entire time. So that's the bug. Alright, so next, number 8. 8th thing you need to know, leveling up, real easy. Actually, when you kill things with weapons or craft things with tools or, whatever, you gain experience. This is your skill tree, which another UI thing that you could turn on is the show experience monitor on the left-hand side. Actually gives you an on-screen experience monitor, which you can, again, expand, kind of like the quick bar. You can expand it down, and you can select different skills that you'd want to track your progress with. Okay? This is pretty self-explanatory, but the way it works, it can be a little confusing at first. So, real quick, every character in the game has 250 skill points. The skill points are the skill points are used whenever you learn a new skill. Every skill has a set number of skill points. So if I look at Marksman, Rifles 2, if I hover over it, it tells me this skill requires 3 skill points to learn. This skill requires 5,000 points of rifle weapons experience, and I currently have 8218. So I could actually learn Rifles 2. Now, when I learn Rifles 2, if I click on it, it tells me what I get. I get rifle accuracy plus 10, rifle concealment chance plus 5, rifle speed plus 5, and then on this side it shows what new weapon certifications I get and what new abilities I can get. Real quick note, real quick bullet point, you can use any weapon in the game even if you're not certified for it. However, you get a pretty significant damage penalty for using a weapon you're not certified for. So I could actually use a Jawa ion rifle right now, even though I'm not certified for it until Rifles 4. However, I probably shouldn't because I won't be doing nearly as much damage as I would if I was certified for it. Okay, so that in mind. When I train, alright, so now that I have enough rifle experience, and to get rifle experience, all you have to do is kill things with that weapon. Once you have enough rifle weapons experience, or whatever experience you're going for the skill that you're trying to get, you need to be trained in that skill. So just because I have the experience I need for it does not mean that I immediately learn the skill. There are two methods of learning a skill. Once you qualify for it, you can either have a player who already has that skill teach it to you, which is generally the best way to do it because it's free, or if you find an NPC trainer for that profession. So there are NPC trainers for every profession in the game. In this case, I would need to find a marksman trainer. What's really cool is if I open up my planetary map, all of the basic starter profession trainers are listed here. So I can click on marksman, and it actually shows me waypoints to all the marksman trainers on the planet. If I right click on this and click create waypoint, I get a nice handy waypoint to the nearest marksman trainer. So I'm actually going to do this now because why not? I'm going to run over and find the marksman trainer here. There, I can see my waypoint is over there. Anyway, so learning this skill, it's going to cost me 5,000 rifle weapon experience. So my 8218 will go down to 3,218. And you do not get that experience back. There's no way to get that back. The skill points will also go down by 3. So the 169 here, when I talk to this trainer, I'm going to say I'm interested in learning a skill. He's going to show me what skills I qualify for. I say rifles 2. It's going to cost me 2,000 credits to train rifles 2, and this is why getting it from a player is generally better, because the player won't charge you for it. But in this case, say you can't find a trainer, you can always use the NPCs. I say yes, perfect. I get the new ability, I get the new certifications. I can see now on my skill tree that rifles 2 is highlighted or colored in. And I can see that now my current rifles experience is 3218, and my skill points have gone down to 166 instead of 169. There is no way to increase your skill point cap. It is permanently fixed at 250, and what this does is limit how many different skills you can get in the game. There is a profession calculator attached to the Galaxy's launcher that you can use to kind of figure out your profession build before you invest all the time into it. I also have a video on the profession calculator you can look at to see exactly how to use it and all the different features that offers. But it's important to know that, like I said, skill points, can't increase them. You can get them back, however. If you have an ability that you decide you no longer want, let's say I no longer want Novice Brawler, I can click on Novice Brawler, click Surrender Skill. It will want me to type in yes, and when I type in yes, you can see I no longer am a Novice Brawler. I lose all the skills and certifications associated with that, but I got 15 skill points back because Novice boxes take up a lot of skill points, and now my skill points are back up to 181, and I can spend those elsewhere. So leveling up, tracking your skills, very important. Next thing, missions. Missions are the #1 way, in my opinion, to grind and make money. Different people will tell you different things. Many people will tell you to go to the Squill Cave on Tatooine to grind, the Narglatch Cave, which I think is on Corellia or Talos. I don't do those ever, because I like to also make money, and you don't make money by doing those. Missions, on the other hand, which really there are no mission here we go. So Mission Terminal. When you double click on Mission Terminal, you have two different kinds: destroy and deliver. Deliver missions pay very, very poorly, but all you have to do for a deliver mission is talk to some dude. He'll tell you to go talk to some other dude. You hand the mission in. That's it, and you get paid. Destroy missions, on the other hand, can get a little bit more complicated. First thing you need to know about missions is they scale depending on several factors. The first factor, are you in a group? In this case, I am not in a group, so the mission is going to scale roughly to my character's individual skill level. If you were in a group, the size of the group and depending on, if it's a small group, the strength of the members in that group will determine the level of missions that the mission terminals offer you. which is why many entertainers will have like ATSTs or Rancors in their group, because people will actually use entertainer groups to boost the payouts and the difficulties of the missions they can accept. Now, if you're by yourself, the mission is going to scale based on your current skill with your equipped weapon. Now notice when I hit refresh, the missions that I get, like the highest paying mission is always what I look at. So 3,400, 3,600, 4,400, 25, 25, 23, 21. All right, so I'm getting pretty much anything. Ooh, 52. So anything from like 2,000 to just over 5,000, but usually somewhere in like the 25 to 3,000 range. Okay, but now if I unequip my rifle and refresh again, look at the price. 21. Oh, 38. Really, it's gonna prove me wrong. No, all right. So there we go. We're getting below 2,000 now, and I'm pretty sure we'll never see a 5,000. I think like the 4,000 is probably as high as it's going. All right. So you can see, because I don't have as many skills unarmed as I do with my rifle, the mission difficulty, it was actually easier. Not much easier, because this character only has 2 skills, but easier. How would I recommend grinding as a new player? First of all, when you first start, don't even do missions. Outside of major towns, like right now I'm in Mos Espa, pretty much every major town in the game, Mos Espa, Bestine, Mos Eisley, Mos Entha, or on Naboo you have like Theed, Karen, Kadara, Moenia, and on Corellia you have Coronet, Tyrena, Corvella, and Dawaba Grafel. Outside of all of those towns, there's little like clusters of really weak spawns. Kill those. It'll take you maybe 5 kills, 5-6 kills, if that, to have enough XP for your first skill. And your first skill, in most cases, gives you an attack that concentrates all of your damage on one specific health pool of your target. So Rifles 1 gives you Headshot 1, which targets Mind. Pistols 1 gives you Body Shot 1, which targets Health. Carbines 1 gives you Leg Shot 1, which targets Action. Those abilities will help speed up combat tremendously. So once you get those abilities is when you can start doing missions. If you get buffs and armor, like, forget it. Missions are the best thing to do, hands down. You may not get as much XP doing missions as you would by doing the other, like, grinding methods, like doing the Squill Cave or the Narglatch Cave or whatever. But the money that you get from doing the missions will help you afford better weapons, better armor, and stuff as you level up that the other methods wouldn't. So it could be personal preference. Do it whichever way you prefer, but I think the mission method is a lot better. As far as the mission specifics, there are 2 types of destroy missions you can get, which are determined by the target. I don't know if I will be able to show you each of them on here, but basically what you're looking for is whether or not the mission is for creatures or for humanoids. So all of these are creatures. If the little, display here is... Oh, perfect. So if it's some sort of nest or lair or rock formation or something, that means it's a creature mission, okay? If the thing is some sort of structure, like this, that means it's an NPC mission or a humanoid. In this case, they're Jawas. Very important to know this, because humanoid missions, generally you want to do humanoid missions if you're going for money. On the other hand, you would want to do creature missions if you're going for experience, and here's why. Creature missions will actually have 3 waves of mobs that spawn from the lair. When you get there, you'll have a wave of creatures surrounding the lair. You kill them, you attack the lair, more spawn, you kill them, you get the lair down to about 50%, a 3rd wave will spawn, you kill them, and then you destroy the lair. So you get 3 times the amount of experience from a creature mission than you do an NPC mission, because the NPCs do not respawn. When you get to an NPC mission, you'll have all the NPCs around the lair, or around the base in this point, the outpost. You kill them, you kill the outpost, you win the mission. So you don't get as much XP from the NPC missions, but The fact that they're humanoids means they drop loot. You'll get credits, you'll get sometimes like weapons or armor, or you'll get junk loot that you can sell to a junk dealer. So you end up getting more money off of the NPC mission, but less experience. So if you're grinding, you want to stick to the creature missions and stay away from the NPC missions, but if you're going for money, vice versa, you get it. On that note, the NPC missions, since they respawn from the lair, remember earlier when I said you want to put peace on your quick bar? You need to peace out of combat whenever the new wave spawns. So when you kill all the creatures around the nest and you start shooting the lair, you might shoot like once or twice the initial time, and a whole wave of creatures will spawn. If you don't immediately peace out of combat, if you get another shot off on that lair, all of those creatures that just spawned are going to swarm you. And if you're a new player without buffs or without armor, you're going to die. Like, it's really hard as a new player to survive against a massive like mob of creatures attacking you. So piecing out of you will allow you to then engage those creatures one at a time, which is very, very critical. So it's very important to know that. Next thing that I think everybody kind of needs to know, harvesting creatures. If you are a scout, because I get asked a lot, how do I get hide, bone, or meat whenever I loot a creature, the corpse is empty. Looting, there's actually two types of looting in the game. You have the kind of looting that you use on NPCs that get you like credits and loot and that sort of stuff, and that can be done by simply double clicking on your target or choosing like the loot option from the radial menu. That will not get you the resources that you need to craft certain things. Like, see these like bristly hide that I have here, I have bone, and I have insect meat. In order to harvest meat, which first of all you need to be at least a novice scout in order to harvest resources, you have to click and hold on the creature's corpse, and there will be an option to harvest resources. If you hover over the harvest resources option, it will expand to then allow you to choose to harvest either meat, bone, or hide. That's not true for every creature. Like I think insects don't have bone, so some creatures will only have two options, but for the most part you'll have three options to choose from. And I'm not going to go into crafting in this video. I have 3 videos that cover crafting, so if you want to know like what resources are good for what, go watch some of those. But important to know that some creatures do drop loot, like rancors will drop rancor teeth, rancor bile, crate dragons will drop crate pearls, crate tissues that's used for crafting. So I'm not going to say creatures never drop loot, but for the most part creatures don't drop loot, they just drop resources for you to harvest. A corpse will disappear if there's no loot on it and no scouts in the group, or at least nearby. So if a creature's corpse is sticking around, like not despawning, that means you can either harvest it or it has loot on it. Same thing with like an NPC, like humanoid NPC. Once you loot a humanoid NPC, the corpse will disappear. So if you see the corpse there, that means there's loot on it. And the very last thing, I guess, that I think new players need to know that the game doesn't tell you is maintenance for structures. So, because everybody wants, you hear about Galaxies has like this really tremendous player housing system, so everybody wants to have their own house, but what the game doesn't tell you is that every structure in the game, houses, harvesters, factories, they require maintenance in order to sustain themselves. So I have a housing video you should go watch, but in a nutshell, when you build a structure, the structure, if it's a house, will have a terminal inside that you can interact with, and you need to deposit credits into that house in order for the house to stick around. If you don't, it will eventually decay, and once it decays, it may start draining credits out of your bank, and once your bank account is empty, the house will then destroy itself and every item inside. So, yeah, put credits in your house. You will get mails, like in-game mails, about your structure losing condition over time, so the game does warn you when that's happening, but if you, like, aren't playing that character, or, just, I don't know, you might not see it. So that's important to know. Harvesters and factories also require power, which is a resource that can be obtained through like sampling and harvesting with like fusion power generators and wind generators and stuff like that. So yeah, factories and harvesters actually require two forms of maintenance, or two forms of resources, credits and power, in order to function. So more on that in the crafting videos. But I think that would be my top 10 list. There are a bunch of other things that the people suggested that I could just give some like honorable mentions to. Don't slap or spit stormtroopers. Slicing. Smugglers can slice weapons and armor to increase their effectiveness. What else? The mini suit versus full suit. I have a video that covers that. I'm trying to think of just other things that are really like last minute things that I want to throw out there. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I know I didn't cover everything. There's a ton of stuff in this game to cover, and that's really the point of this whole video series. So if I missed something that you guys really feel like needs to be brought up, vehicles. Oh, this is a great one. This should be on my list somewhere. When you start the game now, you actually do get a vehicle. I don't have it in my inventory because I already used it. But when, like, vehicles, when you buy them, they're deeds that go into your inventory. You right-click on them and you click Generate Vehicle, and it makes the vehicle appear, and that's great. And you can get on the vehicle, and you can drive around on the vehicle, and you can get off the vehicle, and then when you click and go to store, the vehicle disappears, and it's not in your inventory. So, thing you need to know, number 11, or bonus, or whatever number. I think we're on 11. I lost track, but I'll put it on screen. It goes into your data pad under data. I don't know why, but this is where things like your vehicles, droids, pets, they all go here. So just keep that in mind. You can click and drag this onto your toolbar and then just use it from there. So that's very handy. Also notice that every time you generate your vehicle, it loses a little bit of health. To repair vehicles, you need to go to a vehicle garage. So you can see over here, there's a parking garage. Once you're there, you click and hold on it, and a new option to repair pops up. It does cost credits to repair, and many players will tell you it's simply cheaper to buy a new vehicle than it is to repair it. That may be true, but I find it easier to repair vehicles than to replace them. It's just easier, more convenient. I didn't talk about food real quick. Food and drinks you can buy to also buff you. So I have Viserion Brandy here. Viserion Brandy will give me a mind buff. So you see I consume this. You can see here modifiers went up 417 to all three of my mind stats. And this drink bar, which is kind of bugged, went up a little bit. The only way to get this drink bar to like display accurately is to stretch your character sheet almost all the way across your screen, because this bar represents how full you are. You'll see if I try to take another drink from this brandy, my drink bar will fill up again. I now have twice as much modifiers for my mind now. But if I try to trigger it a third time, it will say you are too full to drink that. So your food and drink meters go down over time, so you'll be able to drink more again once it reaches, a certain point. Important to know that death does not reset your food and drink meters. So if I go out fighting and I die right now, when I respawn, I will not be able to drink until I wait for this to go down. And they did that, the developers, it's not even the emulator developers, that was an SOE decision. They did that because they didn't want people that are fighting in like really long PvP battles to be able to constantly rebuff themselves with food. So they made it to where, the progress bar stays full even after death. There was one other thing that I just thought of that I wanted to talk about. And it was... insurance. So I'm going to take a quick ride whoops, over to the cloning facility. Because one other thing the game does not tell you about that is very important to know is insurance. So insuring your items is very cheap. It only costs 100 credits per item, and it is done at a cloning facility. Any cloning facility. You have this insurance terminal. Oh, but I don't have any items that can be insured because all my items are insured already. So it only costs you 100 credits per item. If an item is insured, you'll see this little eye icon appear in the top left corner. And basically all that means is if you die, your item will lose less durability than if you died while it was not insured. I don't know specifically what the percentages are. I think if you die and the item is not insured, the durability goes down by 10%. And I think if you die and the item is insured, it only goes down by either like 5% or 1%. It's significantly less. But item durability will go down upon death, which leads me to repair. This is no longer a top 10. This is just like stuff you need to know. Everybody needs to know. Repairing items in Galaxies. You can repair armor, weapons, and clothing. However, it requires a repair tool to do that. And unless you are a weaponsmith or an armorsmith or a tailor, you get a severe penalty to attempting to repair your gear. And if you fail a repair attempt, you will destroy the piece of gear that you're trying to repair. So, don't do it. Also, you really want to repair, like if you do try to repair stuff, you want to repair it when it's around 50% condition. The lower the condition of the item, the harder it is to succeed the repair roll. So if you wait for your weapon to get down to like 100 out of 1,000 condition, it's probably going to fail the repair attempt and you're just going to lose it anyway. I don't even bother trying to repair gear in Galaxies. I always just use it until I can't use it anymore and then I replace it. But if you absolutely have to repair something, find a professional to repair it. Don't try to do it yourself. And that is all I can think of. Alright, so I'm glad, I hope this top 10 plus like several bonus things have helped. I know this is one of my longer videos as of late, but I think it was important to get out there, especially because it's more recent, and I don't think a lot of people have gone back and watched my old videos anymore, so, well, who knows, I don't know, maybe they do. So, hopefully this was a good, like, get some of the new viewers caught up to some of the basics that they may or may not have watched previously, and for any new viewers, if anyone's trying to recommend my channel to any new viewers, this is probably a good video to start them out on. So, thank you guys for watching. Mobius1 here, and I'll see you guys next time.